Instead of signing a $3.6 million 3-year contract, or even better, a $9 million contract for 5 years, Pat Tillman became what is believed to be the first NFL player since World War II to leave the game voluntarily for military service. This is the story of a true hero, a man who gave up everything one could want for the greater good. This is the Pat Tillman story. So in researching Pat Tillman, I've seen the story being politicized, but this video has no part in that. I just want to focus on the facts of his life and the unquestionable balls it takes to turn down millions and instead put your life on the line for a cause you believe in. Days after 9/11, Tillman said, "My great-grandfather was at Pearl Harbor, and a lot of my family has gone and fought in wars, and I really haven't done a damn thing as far as laying my life on the line like that. We play football, you know. It is so unimportant compared to everything that's taken place." He enlisted in May 2002, the same week he got married. But before we go any further, we need to rewind where it all started. Patrick Dan Tillman was born to Mary and Patrick Tillman on November 6, 1976, in San Jose, California. He went to Bret Hart Middle School and helped lead Leland High School to the Central Coast Division I football championship. Athlete that he didn't only play football. In his freshman year of high school, he was a catcher for his baseball team, but he didn't make the varsity team, so in his sophomore year, he decided to focus on football instead. In 1993, as a high school senior, he was involved in a fight outside a pizza parlor, and he severely beat his opponent and was charged with felony assault. He went to a juvenile court, and after pleading guilty, he actually spent a month at a juvenile detention facility. His conviction was later reduced to a misdemeanor, which was actually really lucky because it allowed him to keep his scholarship to ASU. He would later say this about the situation: "I've learned more from that one bad decision than all the good decisions I've ever made. It made me realize that stuff you do has repercussions. You could lose everything." Tillman wasn't heavily recruited, but did manage to secure that last scholarship to Arizona State University. At ASU, he started as a linebacker. Despite his size, only 5'11", he helped his team go undefeated and made the 1997 Rose Bowl game in his junior year. He won the Pac-10 Defensive Player of the Year and was selected as ASU's most valuable player in 1997. He was also a great student. He graduated with a 3.84 GPA in marketing. He won the Clyde B. Smith Academic Award in 1996 and 1997, the Sporting News Honda Scholar Athlete of the Year in 1997, and the 1998 Sun Angel Student Athlete of the Year. He was drafted by the Cardinals with the 226th pick in the 7th round in 1998. He received a signing bonus of just $21,000, which is about $40,000 today, so he had to commute to training camp on a bicycle. Tillman was determined to get on the starting lineup, so he worked his ass off. A Cardinals coach at the time said, "What was intended to be a 15-minute workout turned into a 45-minute workout because Pat Tillman would not let us stop the drill until he had executed each one of them perfectly." He played safety for the Cardinals and actually started 10 of 16 games in his rookie year. During his time with the Cardinals, he established himself as a top defensive back, and he set a new team record for the number of tackles in 2000 with 224. Paul Zimmerman, a Sports Illustrated writer, named Tillman to his 2000 NFL All-Pro team after Tillman finished with 155 tackles, 1.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, and an interception for 30 yards. After such a strong season, Tillman actually got a contract offer from the Rams for $9 million over 5 years, but loyal to his team, he decided to stay with the Cardinals in 2001. He would finish his career with 344 tackles, 2.5 sacks, 3 interceptions for 37 yards, 3 forced fumbles, and 3 fumble recoveries in 60 games. Despite playing well, 9/11 had a deep impact on Tillman, so after the 2001 season, he planned on enlisting in the US Army with his younger brother Kevin. Kevin was also an athlete. He was a minor league baseball player in the Cleveland Indians organization. Tillman actually turned down $3.6 million over 3 years with the Cardinals to enlist. The Army was going to pay him $18,000 a year. So that just shows you his character. It's got nothing to do with the money, even though that kind of money sets you up for life. It was about a much bigger cause. And he didn't just join the Army, he enlisted to an extremely hard division, the Army Rangers, where fewer than 40% of candidates complete the training. The course is 61 days, 3 phases long, and an average training day lasting 19.6 hours. The difficult mission is the reason for the rigid training. A Ranger battalion is on call 24 hours a day and can be moved anywhere on the planet in less than a day. They are often the first military forces to arrive at a current or potential battle, securing airfields, blowing up railways and bridges, or simply performing reconnaissance. And it clearly wasn't an easy decision for him. He wrote about his wife. "Sometimes I feel like I've left her all by her lonesome, to fend against the world. I struggle with the guilt of what I've done." And despite Tillman's hesitancy to do any interviews after he announced his decision, the story would take a life of its own, both during his service and after his death. On April 22, 2004, Tillman was killed in action while in a canyon in eastern Afghanistan. Initially, it was reported that he was shot during an ambush by enemy forces, and this is where the topic gets a bit murky. There were a lot of unanswered questions about his death, and Tillman's family began demanding answers from the military. By the end of May, media outlets reported that Tillman was actually killed in an incident of friendly fire. So this is what happened. Pat Tillman and about 40 soldiers in his Army Rangers platoon were on a mission in eastern Afghanistan. The platoon was split into two groups. The first group, including Pat, was ordered to go through a narrow and steep canyon to reach a village by dusk and search for enemy fighters and weapons the next day. The second group, which included his brother, was supposed to follow a different route to transport a broken Humvee. However, without the first group knowing, the second group ended up taking the same path just minutes later. The first group made it through safely, but the second group was ambushed while towing the Humvee at a slow speed. So hearing this gunfire, Tillman and his platoon mate Brian O'Neill rushed to a ridge to see what was happening. Soldiers from the second convoy looked to the horizon and mistook their own men for enemies and started firing. Despite trying to signal to his fellow soldiers, it was not noticed, and Tillman and an allied Afghani, Syed Farad, were killed. Apparently within the first day, the army knew that Pat had been killed by friendly fire, but they didn't tell the truth immediately. As I mentioned at the beginning, I want this to be a story of Tillman and not all the drama that followed his death, because that really takes away from who he was and what he did. What I will say is, unfortunately, all this mess distracts from the heroism of Tillman. It became a media spectacle rather than a story that covered what he sacrificed. As his mother said, by making up these false stories, you're diminishing their true heroism. Followed by his death in 2004, the Pat Tillman Foundation was established. Today it's led by his wife, Marie. Their mission is to raise money to help service members and their family pay college and education costs that aren't covered by the government. Despite the controversy that surrounded Tillman's death and the pain it obviously caused his wife, she felt this was her calling, saying that when Pat and I joined the army was when they were the happiest. The strength of Pat Tillman is carried by his wife and his family to this day for sure. In addition to the Purple Heart and Silver Star medals from the military, the ASU Sun Devils and Arizona Cardinals retired his jersey numbers. In May 2010, he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. And in 2010, the NFL and Pat Tillman Foundation created the NFL Tillman Scholarship. And the scholarship is awarded to someone who exemplifies Pat Tillman's enduring legacy of service. And that is the story of Pat Tillman, a true legend. Alright, thanks for watching.